Chapter 7 hit hard in terms of story, but what I liked most is that past events, characters, and mysteries haven't been erased. Why are we heading toward a war with the last reality? What actually turns out to be a simulation? And what role is Dark Voyager going to play this season? Like I expected, Epic really is trying to build a connected story, where the characters aren't just brainless NPCs, but a real part of the storyline. Shout out to Chapter 5, where entire organizations would just vanish the moment a new season started. This time, the final event of the last chapter directly impacts what's happening on the island right now. Jones's plan didn't end up being as reliable as a Swiss watch, but at the very least, we managed to defeat the Dark Presence. And at the same time, we freed a fragment of the Zero Point and Oninoshima in the process. The only catch is that the Zero Point fragment yeeted us into a new reality. And as you might have noticed, that kind of transfer left a lot of loopers with a massive hangover. To really dive into all the twists, secrets, and character returns, I went through all the new storylines and came to one conclusion. There is some real weirdness going down on this island. We've got the simulation we were stuck in, a giant sphere floating over the island, aliens hiding in bunkers, film sets, and actors everywhere. So let's take it from the top, because for the first time in a long time, Epic's writers actually managed to surprise me. Instead of a clean slate, Epic has brought back one of the most powerful threats in the game, the last reality. They've just arrived on Golden Coast Island in a massive ship commanded by the Dark Voyager. A face, or more precisely a skull, OG loopers will remember from way back in Chapter 1, Season 3. Later, after the Season X reset, he showed up again as Eternal Voyager, and that's when we finally learned that under that helmet, there was nothing but a glowing skull. That pretty much confirmed he wasn't exactly human, though nobody expected him to come back 6 years later, now wielding the power to control the Golden Cubes. To understand why that power is such a big deal, we gotta talk about the last reality again, because this squad uses their cubes as foot soldiers with the plan of invading different realities, probably intending to hoard the entire universe for themselves. Back in Chapter 2, Season 8, we found out the Cube Queen was the leader of all of them, basically because she controlled the Golden Cube. In fact, during her mission to invade our island, she summoned her army, which is where we first saw this specific type of ship that is now hovering right above the Golden Coast Island. And actually, the one sitting inside it is the Voyager. With the arrival of this ship on the island, we also get the TV interference shown in the cinematic trailer, where we can read a message that the last reality probably meant to send to their own forces. In it, they say that their training and learning phase is complete, and that they've spent 8 years and 9 weeks in base reality, which is basically Battle Royale mode, since that's how long it has existed. According to them, this adds up to 106 billion years, because they're counting the fact that every 20-minute Battle Royale loop can have up to 1 million active matches at once. That's why the total amount of time is literally around 7 times longer than the age of the universe itself. However, during this process, we spotted 2 errors that came up for them. The first was the appearance of the Dark Presence, a villain that emerged from the spirit realm, something that, for now, exists only in the reality of 783. And by the way, he was already defeated in the final event, with Jones bringing in the entire army of collabs. With that victory, they also recovered the fragment of the Zero Point, and this sent Hope, Jones, and us to the new island, I assume to recover another part of the Zero Point fragment. If you don't know what this Zero Point is, let's just say it's like the heart of all the Fortnite islands. And at the end of Chapter 4, well, it exploded, and its fragments were scattered across different realities. This was the same event where Fortnite stopped being just a game and officially became a metaverse. With that cleared up, let's move on to the second error in the message, the anomalies. They had been contained, but with the Voyager's arrival on the island, they've been reactivated. That's exactly why, in every match, we get these random phases where anything can happen in the game. Finally, the TV also shows that Phase 2 has already started, and that a program encoded in human language has been executed. This is probably referring to sending the Voyager to the island. Still, we're left wondering what exactly he's going to do. The thing is, when we talk to Hope about it, she has no idea what this ship is planning to do next. In fact, she also confirms that Daigo and Kendo stayed behind to protect Oninoshima after we helped them save it. This reinforces the idea that when it saved us, the fragment took only us and not the whole island. So I understand that this isn't an error, it's meant to let us help recover the remaining missing pieces. And if you're wondering where that first fragment is now, it's in our possession, and is currently being investigated in one of the new zones on the map. With all this, we'd already have plenty to theorize about, but luckily, Fortnite officially showed us this notebook with a reference to the movie Kill Bill just before Chapter 7 started. In it, we see the imagined crossed out and the foundation being written in. These two are characters who are part of the team known as the Seven. This group was formed to defeat an organization called the Imagined Order, which is led by Gino, a character who hasn't even appeared in the game yet. We've only seen him in the comics. And by the way, the comics are also where the Imagined dies, which is why she is crossed out in the notebook. This organization also had the Zero Point under its control and used it to trap all the loopers on the island, forcing them to repeat a loop every 20 minutes and lose their memories after finishing it, something the Seven didn't like. That's why a war started between the two sides, which ended with the Seven's victory in Chapter 3, Season 2. It was in the very next season that the Herald invaded the island in the name of the Last Reality. She had the power to turn people into chrome, and with that, she managed to defeat almost everyone from the Seven. However, a year later, Jones and Sloan joined forces and went back to the past to prevent all the events I just listed. This would explain why the Seven are alive now. When they generated this multiverse, they were also thrown to different locations in the various realities, just like the fragments. For the moment, the only member of this group we know is on this Golden Coast island is the Order, since she left this audio log near the drop pod she arrived in. In these logs, she makes two things very clear. First, we aren't the only ones chasing the fragments. This could mean that in this chapter, we'll also have another rival, like what happened last chapter with the Dark Presence. Second, the Seven are not exactly going through their best moment anymore. In other logs, she mentions the scientist, another one of her teammates who is known for being the smartest in the group, and even she doesn't know his whereabouts. This supports the theory that each member ended up in a different place and we don't know where. In fact, this makes sense when talking about the original visitor, who, after the Zero Point explosion, could have traveled to the OG reality, which is the same as hers, but taking place in 2025. Anyway, the Order will leave a fourth audio log in the coming weeks, where she'll try to send a message to call the rest of the team to come help her face the Dark Voyager. And actually, going back to him, we have to remember the list of names, where we also saw that the second note was the bus driver, something he has already achieved. Although, during the last week, we did quest to rebuild the bus. As for the rest of the names, I personally have no idea what they could mean. They might refer to the real names of the Seven members, or even to future protagonist skins for upcoming battle passes. And speaking of that, I haven't told you anything about the protagonists of this specific pass. The thing is, with the exception of the Voyager, the other Seven don't have anything very interesting to offer. Two of them are literally movie collabs, and the other 5 are actors, stunt specialists, and the director of the new movie they're filming on the island, specifically in the zone that's full of alien bananas. But how did it all come to this? Chapter 6 kicked off when a Zero Point shard crashed into reality 783. It's called Oninoshima, which roughly translates to Island of Demons. Thousands of years ago, this place was home to them, but local clans banished the demons to the spirit realm and sealed the gates. At first glance, Reality 783 might seem like just another random dimension added to stir up mystery and get the community theorizing. However, references to Oninoshima have been appearing in Fortnite since Chapter 4 Season 2. If you carefully analyze the storyline dialogues and hints scattered across various locations, you'll realize that the Fox Clan and the River Guardians are originally from Reality 783. Yes, my favorite Drift, Vi, and the rest of the crew in white and pink kitsune masks originally came from Oninoshima. That said, there's one amusing inconsistency here. Drift initially ended up on the Chapter 1 island because of a rift that opened in the real world. So, it's still unclear which reality Drift originally came from. If you have your own explanation, feel free to share it in the comments. The relationship between the River Guardians and the Fox Clan is the backbone of Oninoshima's story. They were the most influential people on the island, essentially running everything, at least until the war and destruction began. The thing is, the Fox Clan mastered the ancient art of creating masks, and these weren't just regular Halloween masks or party accessories. These were full-fledged magical artifacts that allowed many samurai to absorb the spiritual energy of Oninoshima. The Fox Clan transformed their craft into true magic. In simple terms, they essentially invented an equivalent to Naruto's chakra. Everything seemed fine, until a few mask makers created masks that were way too overpowered. These masks became such a threat that the other clans on Oninoshima declared war on the Fox clan, as their magic posed a real danger to the island. Leading the resistance was none other than the River Guardians. This clash, known as the War of Shadows, led to catastrophic destruction. The infighting among the clans caused the ancient masks to spiral out of control, opening a gateway to the spirit realm. At its center was an unknown shogun, a towering brute. Only by uniting their forces were the samurai able to seal the rift using the Dragon Gates, which you've likely come across by now. The final battle for Oninoshima took place at Night Shift Forest. And if you wander through the area, you can still find remnants of the fight, such as spears, swords, helmets, and other gear. A local legend has also spread about a samurai girl who, in her effort to protect her clan, became trapped forever in the spirit realm, a ghostly dimension. She fell under the control of a powerful Oni, who turned her into his puppet. By now, you've probably guessed this legend refers to Night Rose. The Fox clan destroyed all mentions of the mask-making technique, but as we later learn, they weren't entirely honest. The world remained at peace until a fragment of the Zero Point crashed onto the island. The power of the reality core awakened the ancient magic, reopening the gates to the spirit realm. If you're curious about how the locals reacted to this, I've got some exclusive footage from a homie, Jonesy. After leaving the Chapter 5 island, Jonesy and Hope are on a mission to find a mysterious artifact that Hope compares to Pandora's box. Hope believes these powerful trinkets are just pieces of a much bigger puzzle, which leads the team to Oninoshima. Here, they meet Kendo, a local samurai, who, along with his brother Daigo and sister Jade, is already battling demons after the gates were reactivated. Hope and Jones quickly realize they're in the right place and join the fight against the demon world. But this demon-fighting family isn't as ordinary as they seem. They're descendants of ancient samurai who fought in the original War of Shadows. Remember how I said the Fox clan wasn't entirely honest? It turns out their craftsmen secretly passed down knowledge of mask-making through generations. The most skilled of them is Daigo, who, under the guise of running a mask shop, creates ancient artifacts in hopes of gaining an edge in the battle against the demons. Here's an interesting fact. The device he uses to create these masks is called the Spirit Extractor in the game files. Essentially, Daigo grinds spirits like a blender, turning them into pure energy to forge the masks. Not exactly the most humane method when it comes to those poor sprites, but anyway, something clearly didn't go as planned. The mask Daigo crafted for Jade accidentally transported her to the spirit realm, which has created a lot of tension between the brothers. Honestly, Daigo seems pretty shady overall, as you can pick up from his dialogues with Mizuki. He's definitely not as straightforward as he appears right now. While the brothers sort out their family drama, the Fox clan and River Guardians, realizing the need to strengthen their resistance, finally set aside their old grudges and unite once again. Other groups operating on Oninoshima, like the High Stakes Club, are joining the effort too. These guys definitely know a thing or two about hunting down supernatural threats, though they mostly operate behind the scenes. I left out a few details to avoid turning this video into a full-on lecture about Chapter 6's lore. Let's be real, not everyone wants to know how Oninoshima has developed over the past 1,000 years, but at least now you have a general understanding of what we're dealing with. While Hope and Jones are busy battling demons, they're missing one critical detail. Where did the reality core fragment even come from? And more importantly, where did it go? Something tells me that fragments of what was once the most powerful object in the multiverse don't just randomly travel between dimensions. Everything stayed quiet until that shard hit and shattered the seal. Suddenly, demonic energy started leaking out again. That's when two big threats showed up: the mysterious Shogun and the possessed Night Rose. The darkness from the spirit realm wasted no time snatching up the fallen shard, because it holds insane power. Trying to stop the nightmare before it spread, the Demon Hunter family, Jade, Kendo, and Daigo, teamed up with Jonesy and Hope, who had arrived searching for the shard. Daigo, the cocky older brother, decided to fight the Shogun alone. own. And actually won. Knowing the shard wouldn't be easy to protect, Hope and Midas, who somehow also ended up on Oninoshima, launched a secret vault project. This vault was supposed to be the last line of defense against the darkness and the spirit realm. But then, everything went wrong. Drunk on his victory over the Shogun, Daigo fell under the mask's influence, became possessed, and joined the side of darkness. He drained the island's life force to open a gate for the dark presence itself. Loopers managed to stop him temporarily thanks to the Supernova Hero program, which awakened after the reality pulse. But even though we won that fight, the damage was already done. The dark presence's blood seeped into the ground, awakening a swarm of demonic bugs. And in this fight, our biggest ace is an organization called OXR, led by the mysterious Onyx Winter. Thanks to OXR, Jones and Hope discovered something huge. The bugs can slip into the spirit realm through special access points, bypassing the main gates entirely. Now the island's rescue team is figuring out how to use that same trick to infiltrate the spirit realm and reclaim the 0-point shard before the darkness can weaponize it. But the dark presence isn't just sitting back. Hope can sense something terrifying brewing inside the spirit realm. It's starting to feel like darkness is planning a massive strike on Oninoshima. Hope and Jones pulled up to another anomaly to check it out.
All right, time to seal the breach and trap Mr. Demon in the spirit realm.
Your upgrades to the rift device better work.
Through that rift, we got another peek at the dark presence. Jones tried to use his rift device to seal the breach between worlds. Spoiler alert, it was an L. The dark presence was too powerful, broke through.
All right, Jones, if you're gonna do something, do it now.
This will either fix everything, or make it a whole lot worse. See? Piece of cake.
Heads up!
Well, I made it worse. So much worse. We can't let that demon take the island.
Next thing you know, Hope and Jones are chilling on Kang and Kodos's UFO, and things got absolutely bonkers. We tried to pull the 0-point shard out of the dark presence, but it was straight up built different, yanking us into the interdimensional void. We still managed to snatch a piece of the shard though. Caught in a loop, Hope was fighting off the aliens to get back to Oninoshima. But the aliens got the upper hand, and we ended up yeeted right into Springfield. The 0-point shard piece landed right in Homer's hands. As I said before, that thing is basically a magic wand for him. He can reshape objects and even grow his hair back. So yeah, escaping the Simpsons reality is 100% up to Homer and his remote. We watched as Homer used the full power of the shard to transform Springfield into the city of his dreams. Meanwhile, Hope and Jones were trying to retrieve the 0-point shard to activate the rift device and return to the island. Eventually, they succeeded. After activating the device, we returned to Oninoshima, but it looked completely different.
This doesn't look like the island.
And that looks like just a whole lot of trouble. If he wants a fight, he's got one. Time to take back our island. Let's go!
Arigato! On your left!
Need everyone on the front lines!
Press the attack!
Heads up! Oh! That had to hurt.
We're barely holding on. We need to hit him hard, and we need to do it soon.
Okay. I got like a crazy dangerous idea.
As if things aren't dangerous enough.
Trust me. 3, 2, here goes crazy.
The cube? That's not crazy. That's insane!
Exactly! All right! All forces, open fire!
Hit him with everything you've got. It's working! Keep it up!
Take cover!
The cube's gonna blow!
Mecha team leader!
Who's piloting that? We did it!
The 0-point shard.
This feels more like home.
Our event. A shard of the epicenter yeeted us and itself into a new island known as the Golden Coast. The island and this whole reality are packed from head to toe with parties, shows, and movie premieres. While every looper gets to feel like a real Hollywood star, there is a creepy floating sphere hanging over the island, and you cannot even imagine what we are about to face. With our arrival on the Golden Coast, it's becoming obvious that the dark presence is history, so that means the seat for the main villain is vacant. Or is it? The start of Chapter 7 drops a bombshell about the nature of the island itself. If you were watching closely, the story trailer after the event showed runes that translate to reveal we were all unwittingly in a training program or simulation for exactly 8 years, 9 weeks, and 3 days. Yeah, you heard that right. Every match we sweated, every jump from the battle bus, every event, every villain, every little love story, all of it was fake. The only thing we know for sure is not fake is my creator code, which is very real, and I am seriously thankful to everyone who uses it in the shop. Back to the secret message. That 8-year period lines up perfectly with how long Fortnite Battle Royale has existed. That really makes you think, did anything in the Fortnite story actually happen, or was it all just one giant movie set? All of this feels painfully familiar and screams Matrix. People as lab rats, their minds messed with in a giant system they never agreed to. So the obvious question is, are we just puppets in someone else's massive horror experiment that maybe is not even over yet? Who knows what is really going on inside Charlie Wen's head?
Give me your attention, baby.
And the weird stuff does not stop there. The scariest part is that the same message includes a formula, and if you translate it from math into normal language, you get 160 billion years. While 8 years passed in our world, inside the game we lived through billions of years of evolution and endless loops. Every chapter, every season, Every island reset. All of it were iterations of the simulation. We were not just jumping from the battle bus and running around for loot. We were part of a giant experiment where time moves millions of times faster than outside. And the whole time, we were subjects being watched by scientists. And those scientists are not human. At the same time, a member of the Seven show up on the island again. In particular, the Order. The way she arrives is the same as the Foundation and the Visitor. She crashes down inside a meteor, only with less blockbuster drama. Unlike her teammates, she only leaves an audio log saying she showed up with her own plan after hijacking Jones's broadcast during 0 hour.
Mission log. I was scanning the aftermath of the battle for Reality 783 when I picked up a distress signal sent by Agent Jones. It's been a while. He and I have a lot to catch up on. Whatever's going on, odds are the 0 point is involved. Initial scans show this place has an intense concentration of 0 point energies. I'll need more info to make a complete assessment.
But do not get too hyped. She barely manages to show up on the island, and she is already gone. Sorry folks, that is just week 1 of the chapter, and the plot is already moving at breakneck speed. I bet every looper has already felt that creepy vibe that someone is watching you. You are not alone out there. Right from the start of the season, something appeared in the sky that looks like the Cube Cradle. It changes position every day, and it is piloted by no other than Dark Voyager, who is hiding the golden cube inside, the command center of Cube Energy. The proof that this is a messenger of the last reality is on the map as the location classified Canyon, basically Fortnite's version of Area 51. It is a real secret facility built in the shape of a triangle, the symbol of the last reality crest. Down in its bunker, they are hiding UFO from the second invasion and files on key characters, including Dr. Sloan. But Dark Voyager is by far not the only one spying on you. Epic decided to fully crank up the lore by bringing up a being known as the Nothing. In secret bunkers, you can find warning signs like, "It is watching," and "There is nothing to see here," which are direct callbacks to this creepy entity. If the 0 point is pure creation, then the Nothing is the complete opposite, absolute destruction and emptiness. These little details confirm that Fortnite's ancient enemies did not go anywhere. They are still watching the loopers from the shadows. Good news, we are not doomed yet. After the final event, we still managed to recover a 0 point shard. It is still one of the core elements of the universe, now confirmed to be scattered across time and space. One of its shards is in Inner Loop Labs. The energy from that shard powers a giant underground teleportation system shaped like a ring, kind of like a Fortnite-style Large Hadron Collider. In real life, people were freaking out that those experiments might spawn black holes. So in-game, using unstable 0 point energy for this kind of stuff sounds like a straight road to disaster. Speaking of the last disaster, after the battle for Oninoshima during 0 hour, the island is back to normal and living a peaceful life again. If you were wondering where Daigo and Kendo are, well, the siblings decided to stay on Oninoshima to protect it from any kind of threat and to carry on their family's legacy. However, Hope still thinks about Kendo, and maybe, just maybe, Kendo will visit her in the future. But for now, we can only say farewell to those siblings. They were a fun part of the Oninoshima story. Either way, the story is more alive than ever. If you were still on the fence, now is the perfect time to dive into it. I know the start of the season came in hot, and a lot of your questions are probably still hanging in the air. You can drop them in the comments under the video, and we will break them down in the next one.